don't care who likes it or not. As long as we know it's the truth. As long as we know it's the truth.
The three most hated of men are: one, a rich man who gives away his wealth to the poor, a wise man who shares his knowledge with the ignorant, and the man to whom the Holy Quran is revealed. Why do you hate Gaddafi? Does he share the wealth of Libya with the poor? Well, if he does, and he does, doesn't that make you, America, look bad? You are the richest nation on the earth, and you've got 44 million people living in poverty, bread lines, food stamps, children suffering in America, but you want to talk to Gaddafi about humanitarian concerns? Gaddafi believes that economic democracy can only be achieved when the GDP of a country benefits all its citizens and when the country's wealth is dispersed to every single citizen. One journalist who lived in Libya wrote of the accomplishments Libya has made under the leadership of Muammar Gaddafi. This journalist is Brother Gerald A. Pereira from Guyana. Listen to what he says and see if you can defeat the truth of what he has said. Number one, Gaddafi nationalized Libya's vast oil resources and used his influence within OPEC to negotiate fairer prices for oil-producing countries. Two, Gaddafi used the oil revenue to build schools, hospitals, universities, and infrastructure. Three, he raised the literacy rate from 20% when he became the leader, and now it is 83%. Libya has one of the finest healthcare systems in the third world. All people have access to doctors, hospitals, clinics, and medicines free of charge. If a Libyan needs surgery that is unavailable in Libya, funding is provided for that surgery to be carried out overseas. He raised the life expectancy from 44 years now to 75. Basic food items were subsidized and electricity was made available throughout the country. He spent billions on the man-made river, where he brought, his engineers brought water up out of the desert. And now pipelines run from Benghazi and Tobruk almost to the door of Tunisia. This man has set up irrigation projects which were established in order to support a drive toward agricultural development and food self-sufficiency. Any Libyan who wanted to become a farmer was and still is given free use of land, a house, farm equipment, livestock, and seed. Gaddafi vowed that his own parents, who lived in a tent in the desert, would not be housed until every Libyan was housed. He fulfilled that promise. Under Gaddafi, Libya has now attained the highest standard of living in Africa. Listen to this. Money from Libya's oil revenue is deposited into the bank account of every Libyan. Women have full access to education, employment, and he has enabled women to serve in the armed forces. This is most important. Gaddafi was the first and only leader in the Arab world to formally apologize for the Arab role in the trade in captured Africans. Gaddafi acknowledged that the black Africans were the true owners of Libya and proclaimed in his green book, the black race shall prevail throughout the world. Pereira writes, imperialists fear a united Africa which would completely alter the balance of power globally. The well-documented fact is that if Africa stopped the flow of all resources and raw materials to the Western nations for just 1 week, the United States and Europe would grind to a halt. Nelson Mandela, the one whom you claim you love, called Muammar Gaddafi one of the 20th century's greatest freedom fighters and insisted the eventual collapse of the apartheid system owed much to Gaddafi and Libyan support. With no justification, real justification. You put Libya under sanctions for 10 years. He couldn't buy this or that from this country or that. So he was forced to turn inward. And under sanctions, he has produced a country in which everything in it is paid for. It has no debt. Then the ultimate crime of Muammar Gaddafi was to tie the Libyan dinar to gold. Even more than Russia, China is the only one that has more gold than Libya, according to what we have read. The gold that Libya amassed shows that her country has been based on solid economic principles. But America, Europe, look at you. America is now drowning in $62 trillion of debt if you include Social Security, Medicare, and other entitlements. Well, now, media, what is your responsibility? If I know this, if others know this, if men like Wesley Clark, Attorney General, and Sister Dorothy McKinney, and others speak out, if the Congress voted against giving this government more money to continue this wicked plot against Libya and the Libyan people, whether they're in Benghazi or in Tripoli, I am telling my brothers in Benghazi that the Western world does not intend to give you jobs. They will use you, and in the end, they will suck your blood. They have gathered like vultures, and they'll pick your blood as soon as they finish picking his. Well, media, if you know this, why don't the American people know this? It's because our media is controlled. Management of the news to support policies that are wicked. This was done in the lead up to the war in Iraq. If truth were given to the American people would never have supported these policies. You are no longer a free press, and you are doing a great disservice to the American people. And I am warning you, you will pay a price for this, because the American people can only be lied to for so long. But it is written in both the Bible and the Quran. In the Bible it says everything that is done in the dark will come to the light. And in the Quran it says, though it be the weight of an atom hidden in a rock and buried in the earth, yet will Allah bring it forth. So your days of lying are over. Your days of deceiving people all over the world are over. Truth will come out in the end, and it will cause a revolt in the American people against all these institutions which have misused and abused their loyalty and their love for the United States of America. Now, you don't like that Brother Gaddafi is more interested in the welfare of others and does not hoard the wealth of Libya for Libyans alone. He began to show his people why they should be concerned for their neighbors and the suffering of their fellow neighbors, whether it is in the Arab world or in Africa or in other parts of the world. He made his people through the Green Book international in their thinking. In 1999, Muammar Gaddafi decided to foster the ideas of Assajifu, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, and Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt for a United States of Africa. This created great concern. Among who? America, England, France, Italy, Germany, Canada, all of you that have sucked the blood and continue to suck the blood of the poor and weak of this earth. What was your concern about that? If there were a United States of Africa with one central bank, with a transportation system that tied all these nations together with one language that they would adopt and as the official language of all 53 countries, with trade between the states and with those outside of America, with one great army, and they're getting a decent price on the world market for their tremendous resources, then there would never be a poor African, an uneducated African, an African living in the bush, when that African would now be able to live in a decent home, having a decent quality of life. This is what Muammar Gaddafi was doing. And the moment he started fostering the African Union as a step towards a United States of Africa, Europe and America came up with NEPAD, the new partnership for Africa's development. That was not working because the countries that you singled out for NEPAD were the strongest in Africa, and you made them promises that you really never intended to deliver. I want to quote to you from the Holy Quran in the chapter 14, verse 22. It says, "And the devil will say, when the matter is decided," you figure out who that is. "Surely Allah promised you a promise of truth, and I promised you, then failed you. And I had no authority over you except that I called you and you obeyed me. So blame me not, but blame yourselves. I cannot come to your help, nor can you come to my help. I deny your associating me with Allah before. Surely for the unjust is a painful chastisement." But America and Europe came up with another scheme that Muammar Gaddafi rejected. You wanted to separate the nations of North Africa and unite them with the nations of Southern Europe into a new kind of configuration of nations. All of this to undermine and thwart his efforts to unite Africa, that Africa may come up into the world as an equal partner in world politics, world education, world economics, and world religion. Muammar Gaddafi came up with a system that suits the Libyan and African people, not your parliamentary system, not your system of so-called democracy. You, with your arrogance, think that the people in the Middle East want your democracy when the American people don't have it themselves? And what Libya have, they are now losing it with the Patriot Act and the country being under national emergency since 9/11. You, America, throwing stones and hiding your hand as though you are innocent of criminal activity, and the nerve of you to put people before the International Criminal Court. How many nations, America, have you seduced to sign a document that they will never bring an American before the ICC? Is there some racism involved in who you put before the International Criminal Court with a record like yours, with a record like Israel's, with a record like those? Why don't any of you and the Israelis, for what they did in Gaza, what they did in Lebanon, why don't you bring them before the court? Because America has a veto. It'll never happen. I think there's some racism involved in this, since all the cases that you've prosecuted are Africans. Why aren't any one of you before the International Criminal Court? Is this why Muammar Gaddafi, when he came to the United Nations, called the Security Council the Terror Council? Since this Security Council and this United Nation was established in 1945, you said you wanted to bring peace in the world. But there have been 65 different wars since then, and now many more are arising as we speak. Is this your work? Then why should we have a United Nations when you have failed to bring about what you said you would bring about in your charter? So has the United Nations lost its legitimate right to exist? In the park across the street from the United Nations, there's a wall with the inscription from Isaiah the prophet that reads, "They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. And nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore." So your hypocrisy is engraved in granite. So when you look at it and look at the actions of the United Nations, you tell me, is that a worthy institution to continue? The preamble of the Charter of the United States Nations claims that it was being formed to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. But Brother Gaddafi said, quote, "Terrorism is not only the terrorism of Al-Qaeda. The status quo is terrorism. As for now, the Security Council is a feudal security, a feudal policy for permanent members. It protects them, and it uses it against us. Hence, it should not be called the Security Council, rather the Terror Council. Since the Security Council was established in 1945 and until now, it has not provided security for us, rather provided punishments and terror. Has the United Nations lost its legitimate right to exist? Shouldn't this institution be done away with or completely reformed? But who's got the courage? Who's got the strength? You are weak and cowardly, and you deserve what you get. America is ruled by special interests, not by the needs, rights, and interests of the American people. And you dare to say that the Arab world that is rising wants your democracy? No. They want liberty. They want justice. They want equity. They want a government that serves the needs, rights, and interests of the people. That's what they want. And this is why Muammar Gaddafi said, this is not Egypt. This is not Tunisia. This is not Bahrain. This is not that, because he has looked out for the needs, rights, and interests of the Libyan people. That does not mean to say that there's no dissatisfaction in Libya, and whether that dissatisfaction is legitimate or not. But if there is dissatisfaction, then let the Libyan people come together and sort out their problems as intelligent, civilized people should do. But it is your intervention. The American people want the same. They're angry with their government. So let me ask this question. Since you said Gaddafi is an illegitimate leader, what is the polling of the American leadership toward their leadership? What is the polling of the American people toward Congress, toward the Supreme Court, toward the executive branch and its leader, the President of the United States? 50% of Americans disapprove of Obama's job performance. Does this mean now that he's illegitimate? Is this why many Americans are saying that he will be a one-term president? 39% of the American people disapprove the way the Supreme Court is handling its job. 70% of the American people disapprove of Congress, and 61% of the American people believe the country is on the wrong track. But according to what we understand, only 2% of the Libyan people are in rebellion against their government. Now, you mean to tell me that half of your people don't want you? And you dare to say that this man is illegitimate? What makes him illegitimate and what makes you legitimate? Is it because you have ruled the world under white supremacy? Is it because you are former power as a colonial master and a slave master? Is it because of your military might? Well, let me tell you what's about to happen to all of you. I didn't come here just to have a press conference. I came here to preach the doom of this institution. You say he's illegitimate? He kills his own people? What's your record? What's your record, America? Why are American soldiers dying in Iraq, in Afghanistan? Because the former president lied and said that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, that he was an enemy, that he was going to be a threat to the security of America, that he may be connected to Al-Qaeda. So you sent these soldiers to die on the basis of a lie and then washed your hands of responsibility for killing them. How many so-called Libyans can you prove that Gaddafi killed? And how many Americans do we have on the record that your lives has caused their death and the wounding of hundreds of thousands that may never again regain their correct mental state? But you're not the first to do that. American presidents have been lying all along, killing your own people for acquisition of other people's territories, wealth, and oil. Tell me that I don't have the record of America's wickedness. See? Zbigniew Brzezinski estimates that in the 20th century, no less than 167 million lives were deliberately extinguished in politically motivated carnage. And you have humanitarian concerns in the front of your mind? Now let me talk to Russia and China. If you didn't like Resolution 1973, why did you abstain from voting? None of this would have happened if you had used your veto. So at first you were condemning this. Now you have joined the voices of the West, asking Gaddafi to step down and claiming that he no longer has the moral right to lead the Libyan people. And you said that if he steps down, you will be his protector? That's a joke. Has the West promised you, Russia and China, some of what they intend to steal from Libya? And I say to my brothers and sisters in Benghazi, if you think they're not planning to use you to steal what's under your foot, not for your benefit, but for the benefit of the Europeans that you will have to praise if you come to power. Their game is always the same. They have never changed, and they have not changed now. The snake may have shed the old skin, but the snake is wearing the same new skin, just looks fresh, new. Well, China and America, I'm sorry. If you thought it was wrong, you had the right to bring it back before the Security Council. And you still have the power to do that because you are strong members of the Security Council and you both have the right of veto. The poor African Union, they're today debating. Will you listen to the African Union, who has a legitimate right to ask you to stop the bombing of Libya? Will you listen? I doubt it. But now China and Russia, you've joined the rest of them. So now you must share in their fate. You may think it's your move, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the God that is on scene today is so wise, he turns men's mind to thinking and doing as he pleases, because he, and he alone, is Maliki Yaumiddin. He's master of this day of requital in which we are now living. So the moves that you now make that make you think you are safe and secure, keep looking at the chessboard. And soon you will see your pieces coming off the table. Your governments will soon be laying in, and some of you who have plotted against the peoples of the world will be seen on the back of pickup trucks driving through the streets of America, and the American people throwing stones and raw garbage at you. This is what you're facing, and it is written in the Quran that the mother town should be warned. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the mother town is Mecca itself. Well, what is wrong in Mecca that it needs to be warned? And who will do the warning? So all of you are facing the wrath of God that you talk about, but you don't know him. But you will soon be very well acquainted with him, because he wants to make himself known by what he does in America. No foreign power will deal with this country. America will be dealt with by God himself and his use of the forces of nature. Now, NATO, I know you can check your watch, because I'm not going to stop till I'm finished. I really don't care what you write. I don't care what you say. I'm making a statement. You can take it or leave it. NATO and America are trying to recolonize Africa through AFRICOM. My question to African leaders is, will you allow it? Out of fear of the so-called power of the West, will you bow down and carry out their will, which is against your best interest and the interest of African people worldwide? If African leaders don't stand up today, then you will find yourself facing the wrath of the fast awakening African people. Look at the arrogance of Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, speaking in Addis Ababa, the capital of the African Union. That's some gall to go right to us and tell us like children what she wants us to do. See, this is your arrogance and your hypocrisy that will end your world. Let me tell you what she said. It is true, over many years, Gaddafi played a major role in providing financial support for many African nations and institutions, including the African Union. But it has become clearer by the day that he has lost his legitimacy to rule, and we are long past time when he can or should remain in power. What you're saying, Mrs. Clinton, is for yourself. Your legitimacy is gone. And maybe you and those like you have lost your legitimacy, and you soon will not be in power. Listen to what she said. I urge all African states to call for a genuine ceasefire and to call for Gaddafi to step aside. I also urge you to suspend the operations of Gaddafi's embassies in your countries, to expel pro-Gaddafi diplomats, and to increase contact and support for the Transitional National Council. America that has done nothing for Africa. You dare send this woman there to talk to Africans like they're your children? Let me tell you something, Africa. If you accept that, you deserve what you get. In closing, in the book of Ezekiel, 3rd chapter, the Son of Man is instructed to warn the wicked and let the wicked know that if they don't turn from their wicked ways, they will surely die. But if the Son of Man fears the wicked and will not warn them, they will die in their wickedness, but their blood will be required at his hand. I'm acting in that capacity as I speak. I warn the wicked, which I'm doing today. And I'm telling you, if you don't turn from your wicked ways, then you still will die. But I have preserved my soul because I've gotten your blood off my hands. I want to announce to you that the period of grace that God has given for America and this Western world to repent is over. And the full chastisement of Almighty God is going to come down on all of you. I'm speaking like this inside America with no arms and no army. But I warned you 15 years ago in the first anniversary of the Million Man March in front of the United Nations before over 40,000 people. And we called all the nations to atonement for murder, violence, and war. But the UN has not atoned. Murder is on the increase. Violence is on the increase. War is on the increase. And the sale of weapons of war and the making of even more horrible weapons of war is on the increase. So you're in it now. You can't escape. The die is set. The judgment of God is here. And that which you depend on for your existence, he's turning it against you. I warned you then, and now this is the final warning.
Brother Minister, my name is Dashan Farad. I represent the Amsterdam News. I would like to know, do you feel that President Obama is being motivated by unseen forces to attack Libya?
There is no doubt. Look who he's surrounded with. He brought around him in economics the crowd from Goldman Sachs. What does that mean? He's not an economist. He's a lawyer by profession. So he trusted economists, and they, I would say, they persuaded him to get a bailout. Did the bailout bail us out, or did it bail out Wall Street? See? So no, he's surrounded by the people that are Zionist controlled or Zionists. In fact, when he was elected, a Jewish man in Chicago said that as Clinton was the first black president, Obama is the first Jewish president. Now you can take it or leave it. He was not elected to serve a black agenda or to do good for us. He was voted in to be the black face on a white agenda. And he's not escaping it. He's caught up in it and will pay the consequences for it. Thank you. Take 2 more questions.
Thank you for taking the time to record U.S. crimes. My name is Sarah Flounders from the International Action Center, and if you could please comment more on the role of AFRICOM in really the recolonization and plans for new wars in Africa.
I guess just as America planted Israel in the Middle East, and there has not been any peace in the Middle East ever since Israel was established, now she's planting AFRICOM in Africa, not for the purpose of helping Africa. See, the enemy always comes in with so-called good intentions. That's how he deceives you. He speaks the right word, but his actions do not follow the good that's in his words. And AFRICOM is definitely a plant in Africa, using a black face to start this, to make it acceptable. This is why they use Colin Powell to say to the UN that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. They use a black man that had a good track record. Yes, so you could trust his word. But he set the CIA behind him because he was not sure that their intelligence was right. And America, instead of following truth and making policy according to truth, she twisted the truth to follow her policy. And so, my dear young lady, I really don't see the United Nations being able to settle anything, because now the whole world sees her for what she really is. And imagine all the little nations looking at her, seeing what she's doing. Now, some are going to cow down in fear because America and Europe's powers are so great, they fear that they can be wiped out like they feel Brother Gaddafi is going to be wiped out. Suppose he survives. I mean, look, it's going 90 days now. He survived. I saw him playing chess. I don't know if that's an old picture. It's a new picture. Well, see, I mentioned the chessboard. Suppose he survives. What then? What about the future of Europe and its dependence on that crude oil? Will he sell it to them? See, he got a good heart. Really. I sat with my brother some years ago. And I said, Brother Gaddafi, do not trust these people. I said, they want to get close to you, to destroy your revolution, and to destroy you. He patted me on my thigh, never said a word. But I said, I'm warning you, brother, this is their intention. When he opened the door, they came in, and they came in to destroy him. And since you're from Pakistan, brother, the West is very afraid of Pakistan's nuclear capability. They love a weak man in power. Nawaz Sharif, who was elected by the people, was a stronger man. And he was overthrown. And Musharraf was brought in. And Musharraf appeared to be too strong too. So you have who you have. And you have what you have. So Pakistan better rise up and remember that this is not your friend. They're not a friend of Islam. And any pretext that will give them the chance to go in and try to take all your nuclear capabilities, this is what they're after. And they only need any pretext. And so be careful, Pakistan. You're a great nation, but remember, Satan is always busy seducing the righteous. I hope I helped in answering your question. 2 more, and that's it. Yours and the next one.
That's the last one.
Oh, this is the last one. Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you, Minister Muhammad. My name is Donald Wingfield. I'm with the Black Star News. You already have given Obama not to go into Libya, and they went in anyway. What should the African people be doing today, right now, to stand up in the streets to stop this White House, to cease and desist from going any further attacks into Libya?
Thank you. Since we're coming up on a new election season, and my sister is organizing a huge rally in Harlem. See, we have to stir African people, and they have to know what is going on that is damaging to African interests. And if we rise as a people, particularly in an election season, and let our brother know you can't count on our vote if this is what you're going to do, we put you in power to be a good man, and you have allowed these satanic minds to hook you in. So the book of Revelation said he's like a frog in the mouth of a dragon. You hear the frog beep, 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 but it ain't the frog. It's the dragon talking through the frog. He's not in power. He acts in power, but the powers are behind him. And you ought to know it. Any black man that stands up for white concerns is backed by powers that you don't see, but he feels it. And that's why he acts and reacts the way he does. You better wake up, black people, and not be deceived by the fact that a black man is in the White House. Liars and thieves who give noble motives to their wickedness. We're doing this for humanitarian purposes. Brother Obama, that may be your heart, but that's not the heart of that coalition. See, those are old colonial masters. You were just a baby growing up when those people were ruling the world of black and brown and yellow people. Do you think they had humanitarian concerns when the British mowed down the Indians in India who were peacefully protesting? Talk to me. Where in the hell is humanitarian values in America when you got over 50 million Americans living in poverty, sick and diseased with no health care? Where's humanitarian concern? Well, he's killing his own. What are you doing, America? Well, so I'm not killing my own. Well, see, I've been around a little while. Maybe brother's a little older than I, but I remember when a carrot was a carrot. When spinach was spinach. When beets and asparagus were beets and asparagus and chicken looked like chickens. When you and I were coming up, Owen, there was no such thing as a health food store. Grandma in the audience, we didn't have no health food stores. The health food store was what you got out of the ground, what you could can. Supermarket, we didn't know nothing about that. And we sure didn't have no McDonald's and Burger King and Pepe's and Taco Bell. And you eating this poison and wondering why you got diabetes, stroke, cancer. We're suffering from every disease we lead. Some of us have to decide whether we're going to get our pills or whether we're going to eat food. The American people are dying. And the Food and Drug Administration is complicit. Greed. Greed is more important than the lives of the American people. I want to talk about humanitarian concerns, human rights. Well, Gaddafi's a dictator. Assad is a dictator. Yeah. What was your mother? Did I say something wrong? I'm not playing no dozens. Your mother and father were dictators. They told you where to sleep, when to go out, when to come in, what you should wear, and you better not pout and you better not shout. Not because Santa Claus is coming to town, but that switch will be going up and down on your backside. So don't talk about dictatorship is bad. When you come out of a colonial past where you have lost the value of your own self-interest, God raises somebody from among you that can instill in you the value of yourself again, and that person dictates the path until you have grown into your own self-interest. Then dictatorship must give way to reason and what you call democracy. Do you think that's what those people are fighting for? Hello. They want liberty. They ain't never said, I want democracy. I mean, America's so arrogant. You are losing democracy at home. How are they going to give democracy abroad? Now I'm going to ask, I don't want you to tell on yourself. But look at this. When you get into office, your people voted you in. You're on committees, somebody comes. There's a piece of land in your district, and we would like to get it. And they'll always tell you something noble that they're going to get it for. And if you do it, we'll give you the corruptors are always where the politicians are. I'm going to say it again. You cannot lead for the people and work for corporate interests at the same time. America is under the control of corporate elite, and I'm sorry, but Zionist control. That's why when they hear that I'm coming and you taking a little something under the table, they can tell you don't show up. And you'll come up with some excuse. Your mother died, your cousin died, somebody fell out. I really can't get over there to that school because somebody got to you. Now, what has happened to Islam? Do you think what's going on in the world represents Christianity, Judaism, and Islam? I mean, wait. I'm going to be very brief on this. But for Christians to say, oh, that Islam, that's a religion of hate. How could you fix your mouth? Wait. How could you fix your mouth to say that when the very Pope himself has apologized for the wickedness of the church in the murder of the indigenous people of the earth in the name of Jesus? Talk back to me. Is that love or is that hate? Look at the Native Americans. Look at what they've suffered. Look at the indigenous people of Central America and the Caribbean and South America. When the whites came from Europe with the cross, what did they do to those indigenous people? Was that an act of love or was it an act of hate? Did they murder? Did they lie? Did they steal? Did they cheat? Did they kill? Was it killing for Jesus? Or was it killing for gold and the riches of these people to bring it back to Europe and the kings and rulers of Europe? Talk back to me. So there's no Christian can open your mouth and talk about Muslim hate. You've been fighting for 400 years for justice. Who you been fighting against? Your own white Christian brother. Talk back to me. He was a Baptist. You didn't find no peace in his church. So you left and formed a Baptist church where you could have peace. You were in the Methodist church with white people. And you left and formed the AME. Because you couldn't find peace with them in their church. Just 40 years ago, I couldn't sit on the floor of a white Christian church in the South. If I went, I had to sit in the balcony. We couldn't be buried alongside of white Christians. Wasn't Muslims that did this to you. It was your white Christian brother that did this to you. Listen, Jewish people don't have no hands that are free of the blood of us. They own slave ships. They bought and sold us. They raped and robbed us. If you can't face that, why are you going to condemn me for showing you your past? How then can you atone and repent if somebody don't open the book with courage? You don't have it, but I've been damned, I got it. I have never been an anti-Semite in my life. A real Muslim cannot hate a Jew because he practices what is called Judaism. A real Muslim will protect the synagogue and a church and a cloister from anybody who would desecrate a house where the name of God is remembered. That is a Muslim. Muslims, hands are not clean.
That's right.
See, all got to come and bow down to the book of their own deeds. The Holy Quran says, in that day you will see every nation kneeling down before its book, because every nation makes a record of its doings. You don't know the record, but God knows the record, and soon America's record will be shown to her as it is being shown to her. And she has to make amends, she has to atone, she has to repent, or God will destroy her. The Muslims have lost the way. A beautiful people. I love our world of Islam, but it's a world in revolt against itself.
That is true.
Because God is stirring it up from beneath. There are people that want the purity of their religion to be returned to them.
That is true.
And they are acting out against the rulers who have compromised the faith of God
That is true.
in the name of modernity. There are Muslims who are racist.
That is true. Plenty.
There are Muslims who have been poisoned with this dreaded disease of white supremacy.
That is true.
I didn't even know there were black Syrians until I went to Syria. I didn't know there were black Palestinians until I went to Palestine, or what is called Israel. And I went to Jericho. And I saw black people that looked like we were on 63rd and Cottage Grove. I didn't know that Egyptians, the original Egyptians, were black. But when the Romans and other conquerors came, they mixed their blood. So many of them are mulatto and they don't like the black ones. You can't tell me nothing about this. I was in the Sudan. I know what the problem was. It never was slavery. The problem was Arabs in the north, black people mixed with Arab blood, had a feeling that their Arabism was superior to the blacks in the south who were Christians and animists, and they didn't share with them the wealth of the Sudan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is true.
I met with John Garang, the rebel leaders. I talked with them for hours.
Yes, sir. Listen.
They never told me they were being enslaved.
That is true.
They told me of injustice. But in a lot of those countries, they have governments that appear to be the power.
We don't care who likes it or not, as long as we know it's the truth. As long as we know it's the truth.
The problem is the monopoly game, which is controlled by the Federal Reserve, the private bank, which is actually controlled out of London, is manipulating all the dollars to put them out, put more and more people into debt.
I'll tell you right now, really quickly, in 1910, Senator Aldrich, on his private train brought a bunch of billionaire bankers, the Morgans, all these different people, the Warburgs, down to this place called Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia, and they figured out a way to create the Federal Reserve, because central banks were looked down upon by the people, and they caused a lot of problems. By creating the Federal Reserve, they convinced the Congress and the people that the Federal Reserve is a government arm. It's not. They borrow money from private banks. We're owned by banks, and you can't alter that. John Kennedy wanted to stop borrowing and wanted to stop using the Federal Reserve, use silver certificates to determine the value of the dollar, and print money through the Treasury. So they exploded his head. And that's the scam. It's not billions of dollars that banks control, it's trillions. You don't mess with the banks. And Senator Durbin said this place is owned by the banks on this floor of the Senate.
People waking up though, man. It's gonna be off with your head soon, man. All that shit, man. What's gonna happen when the shit get exposed and the politicians and shit go like, well, sorry, I didn't know. Oh, no, man. Off with your fucking head, man. It's like the queen on Alice in Wonderland, man. Off with your head. Fucking lying, fucking treasonous domestic terrorists, man.
If you bloggers self-organize and attach yourself like leeches to specific issues, corporations, organizations, challenges, whatever, you will be the intelligence Minutemen of this century. The power is in your hands. There aren't enough guns to kill us all, and Halliburton can't build the jails fast enough to keep us down. Bloggers, as Linux is organized, where you grab onto an issue or something and you are part of a structured citizen journalism blogging thing that lets no evil doing go unnoticed, that rules. So I think we're at a turning point. I think we're at the very beginning of a historic tidal shift in power, restoring the Constitution. I don't know how many of you are following this, but the Comptroller General has told Congress the United States of America is insolvent. We're out of Schlitz. We literally have no money to make it to the next decade. Now, there's some very easy solutions. I could eliminate all income taxes tomorrow and have more than enough money to fund the government by using some other guy's bright idea. We tax the Federal Reserve at 0.0006, doubles our money until we decide to put them out of business permanently, because we certainly should not have central banks. We've put together an electoral reform pledge, and it's my view that any member of Congress, any member of the Senate that refuses to sign both the constitutional pledge, supporting the Constitution, and the electoral reform pledge should be put out of business. And I believe that will be 95% of all of these people. It may be time to literally dump Congress on its ass and start over. The government has gotten stupid to the point that it can't write a statement of work. And so they ask the contractors to write a statement of work, and the contractors write a statement of work saying, you need more of what I haven't been able to sell. And the government says, oh yeah, right, good. Put it in the budget. This is real shit. I can crack all 10 of the top-level threats to humanity in less than 25 years for less than 1/3 of what the world is spending on the military. Blog that. And I will tell you the price of buying back the United States government. It's $500 million a year. In the early 90s, Newt Gingrich and the Republicans got together. Their plan is now on the street. It's been exposed by a Columbia professor. They concluded that they could buy the United States government from school board to State House to White House for $300 million a year, and by golly, they did. And every single member of Congress is impeachable for having abdicated their Article I responsibilities under the Constitution and serving as foot soldiers.
And try to wake people up and impart this knowledge to them, and find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves. But we're making some chinks in those walls. You too can have a free press, and that's what it's going to take to get this country back without bloodshed. And I'm going to tell you right now, unless we can be successful in creating a real free press, where the American people get different viewpoints other than those expressed in the establishment-controlled media, there's going to be a civil war in this country, and it's going to come soon. The only thing that can stop it is by waking up vast amounts of sleeping people. Sheeple is what they are. They are following the Judas goat right into the shearing pins, and from there they will go to the slaughter, and they will not know that anything is wrong until they smell the blood of the sheeple in front of them. That's why In a White House memorandum, I was named as the most dangerous radio host in America, not because I'm going to go out and shoot somebody, but because I shoot documented facts which cannot be refuted. That's why. That's what's dangerous. Seek ye the truth, and the truth will make you free, and nothing else will do it. Jesus Christ has never lied to anybody. Why won't you listen to him? Don't spread a rumor. Spread the truth. Document it. Prove it. Make it irrefutable, and you too will become dangerous to those who admire us in lies and enslave us.
Do you think that we'll ever see a day when there's enough people in this country that understand that simple, basic, essential concept in money that things will change?
Well, I do. Yeah.
Do you?
As some of our callers tonight demonstrated that, while others, particularly the one that wanted to know where's the money going to come from, still don't get it. Where's it going to come from? Well, it's going to come from a group of private banks that are going to essentially make a huge profit for the privilege. That is the key to our problems, folks. And until we all get that, we're not going to make any change. And that's really what I hope we do.
And I read today that the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, may have to resort to printing money as a special drawing rights.
SDRs, yeah.
SDRs. Now, it's the same people that own the IMF.
Yeah, IMF was established.
Same people.
Yeah, same people. Yeah. And IMF and Bank of International Settlements, although sometimes they operate at odds. But the IMF was given the ability to have special drawing rights from our Treasury. So when they write a special drawing right, they write, pay to the IMF one special drawing right. That allows them to go into our gold reserves and buy gold for $42.20 an ounce.
No, wait a minute. No, explain that a minute. Who are these people and what can they do? What can they do?
The International Monetary Fund has a right to draw on our Treasury at the rate of $42.20 an ounce, the official price of gold. You remember?
What do you mean draw on our Treasury?
Well, that's what the special drawing right allows them to do. So instead of saying we're going to give them $1 billion, it's much cheaper if you just say, oh, well, at $42.20, they're only taking $40 million. But in reality, what they've really gotten is gold that's worth $900 and change. But in their world, a special drawing right and $1 are pegged at $42.22.
And who owns the IMF?
Well, it's a member banks that own the Federal Reserve. They just own it on a bigger scale. This is a worldwide organization. Yes.
I cannot believe we the people. How did it ever get this screwed up?
Well, we weren't paying attention. We took our eyes off the ball in the, basically with World War I and World War II. We allowed the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and its owners to consolidate their control over the world's financial system. And then over the last 90 years, they've just reinforced that with cement. So now trying to get out of it is going to be ridiculous.
Oh, man. That's a very spooky story that you just laid out there, these special drawing rights.
Yes.
I'd never heard about that
Most
before.
people have not heard of them, and that's how the IMF draws its funds from its members, by special drawing rights.
And so the J.P. Morgans of the world, the Citigroups, the Goldman Sachs, the Shanghai Bank of China, it's the same people that are in there in this IMF?
Indeed. If you look at the history of World War I and II, especially World War II, under the trading with the enemy circumstances, the Bank of International Settlements and the IMF, actually more to the Bank of International Settlements, IMF was not yet in existence. The BIS actually sat around the table during World War II with representatives from the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the Bundesbank and the Bank of Italy. So, while on the battlefield they're killing each other by the thousands, inside the boardroom it's all business as usual. And, no crisis in the boardroom.
Always about the money, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Just follow the old money.
All you have to do.
They came on TV every day and told us, a depression is coming, a depression is coming. And people stopped spending money. We bought it. We said, okay, give the banks our money. Give the private companies our money. Anything to stay out of depression. And they saved Goldman Sachs. They saved GM. They saved Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those companies are going to be making money hand over fist pretty soon. And the American taxpayer is going to be paying off that debt for the rest of our freaking lives. For 100 years or freaking more. And they want to say, they have the audacity to come on TV and say they saved us?
This is AIG, Goldman, and you know what? The Bavarian Illuminati, the Trilateral Commission, Goldman Sachs, and the Queen of England are not all bad.
Wow. Which side are you?
We got to squeeze a couple of things in.
Sure.
All right, first of all, let's do this one.
In my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.
Because it's all about that money. Monies. Google Marvin Bush. Top security of Securicom of the World Trade Centers. Research Neil Bush. He the one that made the bill to try to sell a Porsche to Dubai. We already know who Jeb Bush. We already know who he is. His father gave Osama bin Laden, what, $3 billion to fight the Soviets? Then their grandfather, Prescott Bush, funded Hitler, Hitler's banker. Decent bank. First Union Bank, New York City. Yeah, locked up for trading with the enemy and treason. Then released because they Mason, Illuminati's, all together, man. Shit is funny, yo. People really been fucked, yo, and they getting rich and they getting rich. BPO is not even from this country, yo. British Petroleum. And they telling you you can't stand on your land that your founding fathers fought, that our ancestors fought for? Huh? They'll lock us up, give you a grade, a class D, federal, what? What the fuck is that? A federal charge, a class D? I never heard of that. You giving shit when the kingpins ain't even getting out. Capone and them ain't get that shit. But you ready to give it to some people that's taking pictures? Wow. That's where they getting at, people. Yeah, they really blatant now. Because the internet fucking up all their monies. Fucking up their monies. This is what we leaving our children, people. $37 trillion the cost of the bailout this year. How many people know that?
That's my wedding money. Okay, if I spend no rural money, ain't no reason.
Shit is just like, wow, yo.
What's wrong with being
wow, people losing their jobs. 150,000 Americans lost their jobs in June. We only in the third day. Independence Day is tomorrow. I'm going hard for all the Americans, the independence. Yeah, fuck that shit, man. Built this country, yo. The Rothschilds, they print out money, Federal Reserve, private, they just been raping everybody. And it didn't even matter if you was white or black during them times, but that's what they portrayed out there. So they can have us divide and conquer and stay away from that nigger and stay away from that cracker. All that ignorant shit, yo, why they stealing everything, yo. They was rich elite families, yo, and they still running shit to this day since the beginning of time, since the oil shit. We could have had free energy since 1920, Nikola Tesla. Wi-Fi, all that. J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers and the Ford families, and they said, oh, no. When he demonstrated that with the Warcliffe Tower, and they seen that, and they said, well, where can we put the meter? J.P. Morgan words, oh, my peasants will have nothing free. Whoa, who was the peasants? I guess if he wasn't a, billion trillionaire, I guess he was talking to you. Us.